everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Thunder Gals. Your Thunder Auntie Brittany is in the
Hello.
house, here with your Thunder Auntie Paula. How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm pretty good, except it snowed overnight, so I woke up to like three
Nope.
inches of snow on the ground
Mm-mm.
today.
No, I like being in fake spring right now. This is what I'm perfectly comfortable with this.
I'm ready for winter to be fully over with. I've seen it snow as late as like early May up here, so we're not out of the woods yet, but
We're
it
sweating so
has
bad by
been looking
May.
better.
Good. Yeah. No, we were just talking about, this summer. I know we're already looking forward. I mean, it's April and, the opportunity for the Olympics to come in and, we have not this year,
Right, in
but during the
28.
summers, when you're out there, how do you prepare? And I'm like, in Oklahoma, you don't prepare. I mean, your layers, whatever it is, and which I
Sunscreen,
imagine is like that in
sunscreen,
Minnesota.
sunscreen.
Yeah, completely, completely.
Up here, it's all about keeping the mosquitoes off of you because there's so much water in Minnesota that the
Mhm.
mosquitoes, my husband jokes that the mosquito's the state bird.
Look, that's another barrier to me crossing your border because I am so sweet that they love me, and I can't even go out on my back porch, and I like to use my smoker and smoke meats and things like that, and it's just terrible going out. I mean, yes, I know this is the tiniest violin complaint I could have. I can't smoke any meat because the mosquito's gonna get anyway, whatever. So anyway, there was basketball this week.
There was basketball this week, four Thunder games since we spoke last Friday.
Yep.
We had all four were W's. Woo!
W, another W
So you get to keep doing your post game rap with a W.
with a W. I hate when I got to bring out the L hand. I hate it,
Because
but
it's half a W.
half a W because I'm L. What is it? I don't know. L7.
L7. That's something else.
No, so you have a seven and an. Never mind. Never mind. So basketball. There was basketball this week.
Thunder last Friday night took on the Chicago Bulls and Josh Giddey kind of ran them out of the gym, although the Bulls scored some points. It was a
Yeah, they did
131 to 113 victory.
better than other
Um,
games this week that we won.
Not a lot notable out of the Chicago game that I can think
Mhm.
of.
I mean, the 22 and 0, was it the 22 and 0 run? Was that in that game?
Yeah, it was a close game up until like late in the third quarter. And then we had a thunderstorm and
Yeah.
just took control like we usually do. Finally quit playing around.
It's like, sometimes I feel like that we're just a bunch of cats playing with like little toys, like in the first half, that will, okay, you do whatever. And then comes the third, and it's like, okay, I'm done. Let's just go ahead and win this. And then everybody kicks into gear.
I'm also pretty convinced like some of our guys use those games against lesser opponents to maybe try some new things in the first half, which is why you'll see like some turnovers and like they're just, it gives them a chance to maybe experiment a little before they got to really lock in and just take over.
Yeah. I mean, it could, or they're just slow starters,
Yeah.
you know.
It's
I
hard
mean,
to
there's
get up
nights
for
like
those
that.
games.
But those are the ones that, especially this time of year, that can sneak up and bite you because these are the guys that are looking for contracts. They're looking for a roster spot. So whatever minutes they get, they're going to try to, really show out. And again, you never know what's going to happen in a game. And
Certainly.
so I never, people say, "Oh, you're going to blow them out." I like, no, I fully this time of year can be surprised.
Yeah, you'll hear me mention that on a lot of my pre-game previews when we go up against some of the lesser opponents. Is like, yeah, they're a lesser opponent. They're tanking. They're not in the playoffs, but that doesn't mean the guys on the court don't want to show out. So,
Exactly.
you just never know. Um, Then Sunday, big win over the Knicks, a top
Mhm.
team in the East, one that could be a potential finals preview. Knicks kept it close for a lot of that game, really gave us a good run.
They did. I thought they had us. I'm not gonna lie, I thought they had us. There was no reason that they didn't until
They kind of
um,
fell apart in crunch time. And,
yeah.
that was Shea just doing what he does in crunch time. Mr.
Crunch
Clutch.
play, crunch player of the year.
Yeah. I mean,
Crunch time. I know he's gonna win that one. I
the last
mean,
2 weeks, going into last night's game against the Lakers, I'm not going to be able to attribute it. I don't remember who posted it, but may have been the AFAFORE1 account on Threads. Posted like some graphics comparing Shea and Luca in the last 2 weeks in fourth quarter and overtime.
mhm.
And during that 2 week span, Shea was 11 of 11 in clutch minutes and overtime, while Luca was 9 of 20 over that same
Hmm.
time frame to kind of help show the real difference
Yeah.
between who's an actual clutch player.
I know it gets real tricky. You almost feel like you're cherry picking that, the 7 games on Tuesdays that start at 7:30, you're getting this and that. But Shea's numbers, again, I hate Mr. Consistent. Shea's numbers in the clutch when he's not sitting on the bench in the fourth, like they are pretty spectacular.
He just comes in and takes over games, and then he did that on Monday again
Yep.
facing the Pistons. Pistons were keeping that game close. They were really had a shot at that. They are up 7,
Yep.
and then Shea goes on like a personal 11-0 run.
And I took that personal.
Right?
So,
Channeling his inner Michael Jordan. I took that personally.
yeah. But
Uh,
it just shows, and even if he's not the one scoring, he's he's out there, creating things like, and he trusts his players. Like I was talking about this on the post game wrap the other night, talking about how AC and Jalen Williams had no buckets. Like Jalen had went 0 for 5, and
yeah,
AC hadn't even made anything. But Shea still trusted them enough in the last 2 minutes to get both of them a corner three, and they made them. So, he's not going to keep it if somebody else has an opportunity. And, they always yell at each other to take the shot, take the shot,
yeah,
take the shot, You can hear it in some of the broadcasts, and I love it when the guys are mic'd up for the games.
yes. Well, and I think, a couple of our Threads friends that are Thunder fans on Threads, in those last few games, kind of leading up to that win over the Pistons, Caruso had been cold for several games in a row,
Yeah.
and Shea kept passing to him. And I saw a couple of people lamenting it, like, oh, I can't believe Shea gave that shot to Caruso in that moment. And I even replied to one of them. I was like, I don't, because to me, I think Shea understands he's looking at the long term. Like, I could quit passing to him because he's been having a tough streak, but then I'm not showing confidence in my teammate, and now I'm hurting their confidence. So I'd rather him keep making that pass even when they're cold because
Mm-hmm.
he's telling them, "Hey, just be there. You're going to still have your opportunities. I'm not giving up on you." And that
Yeah.
paid dividends at the end of that Detroit game because then suddenly Jay Will, Alex Caruso both had been cold for a couple games, but out of nowhere, each of them hits a big 3-pointer in the minutes that we needed them to in crunch time. and we pull out the 114 to 110 victory. So, I mean,
Well, and like, look at Lou Dort. I know he gets cold. He's been cold on a lot of stretches. Last night, 11 in the first quarter. I mean, he started us off just like right after another and another, like, and it just really
yes.
set the tone. So you can have somebody that's cold, and then circumstances will change or days will change, and then suddenly they're hot and hitting. So you always got to try to keep them in momentum.
Yeah, I think that's one of Shea's best leadership traits is his willingness to keep trusting his teammates even when other people might be giving up on them. You know, he
True.
understands that you cannot give up on your teammates because if he starts to show that and they start getting the sense that he's not going to pass to them anymore,
Hmm.
that's going to affect them mentally how they play out there.
That's a ripple effect. That's
You,
it.
and so I think it really shows why he's the MVP, why
Hmm.
he understands winning,
Hmm.
and why I'm really glad to have him as leading our team
No doubt. And
because
now that
not all
doesn't,
stars do that.
no. Now that doesn't discount that if Shay thinks that he needs to take over and he's going to run it, like Shay's going to do that.
And the
And
guys
it's
are fine with that too.
exactly.
But they
Coach
would
Mark is fine with that.
but they
Coach
would
Mark is
not
like,
expect him to run into like a triple team and try to shoot over three people. They're gonna expect to pass and be ready for it, regardless of whether they've been hitting their shots all night or not.
exactly. Coach Mark, he's even like, well, I trust him. I trust his decisions. Now, and I don't think that it's in a way that Scotty would default to, our big three and just let them go and not coach them. I don't think that's the case. I think what it is he has, he coaches Shay, and working together, he knows what Shay can do and what he will do and when he should intervene and when he should not.
Yeah.
Maybe not should not, but won't. So,
It also seemed that Coach Mark, there was a couple games this week where he was changed up to the rotation a little bit, and the like Shea played more early second quarter minutes in one of those games where he normally sits the entire first half of the second quarter. He had one where he
yeah.
played almost the entire second quarter, and looks like they're trying a couple different things here down the stretch as they're fine tuning and preparing for the playoffs. But then that culminated
Yeah.
last night in this big matchup, number one in the West versus number three in the West. Two
National game. I mean,
two
it's a big game.
MVP candidates facing off. You know, the national television, it's on Amazon Prime. It's a big game. Lakers have supposedly changed everything. They're so much better than earlier this season when we blew them out before. And what happens? As you so
Um,
rightly said, well, a game happened.
and I mean, and I'm not going to beat down on him. I mean, you know, listen, the Lakers were outplayed last night. Straight up, they were outplayed. And yes, Luca did go down. Luca went down in the third, about 6 minutes in the third. And I know that there's people that are saying, well, it would have been different if Luca hadn't went down. The Lakers were down 30 when Luca went down, halfway through the third. So how were you going to make up? I mean, was the Thunder just going to sit their entire bench and just let the Lakers have full court and then come back? It wasn't. They were outplayed last night, and
Just right
and
out of
it
the
was
gate.
unexpected. I went in because what were they, 13 out of their last 14 or something like that? And we
Yeah.
were 14 out of 15. And
Two
I
of the hottest
expected this.
teams in the league. Like this
I
was
thought this
supposed
was
to
going
be
to,
prime time viewing, man.
and it was not, but it gave Mark an opportunity to have some really wild rotations.
It
You
did.
know, it's And it was funny, not funny, because it's never, ever, ever funny when a player goes down. Never. I don't care if it's, a hip contusion or it's a torn ACL or whatever the case is, that's not it. But Dort went down after Luca went down. Dort went down, and I saw some of the chatter. It was like, oh, okay. Well, Lou Dort, he's out now. He's back in the locker room. Maybe there'll be an opportunity. Kaysen steps up. What do you think Kaysen is doing? Like, have you not watched any
Yeah.
film to see what
He
Kaysen's
leads the
gonna do?
league in steals for a reason.
Yeah,
um
yeah. So
it
you never underestimate people.
it was kind of funny. Early in the second quarter, Bronny James started getting minutes. Like he normally doesn't come in until like later in the game. Um,
Yeah.
I, somebody on one of the podcasts, I think it was on the NBA Daily on The Athletic this morning, was like, was JJ Redick trolling Bronny James and being like, I'm gonna put you out there against this top level NBA defense and just like let you be made a fool of for a minute? Because the minute he got in the game, Kaysen harassed the hell out of him, took the ball just right away from him two or three different possessions in a row. It just was terrible.
Maybe maybe he was treating it as a learning opportunity.
Right?
So now he's got film to show Bronny, okay, look, these are some gaps. This is something, and look at what Kaysen's doing. And maybe that's I don't think he's gonna send somebody out to be made a fool of deliberately. It's just coincidentally.
Speaking of JJ Redick,
Oh yeah. Mhm.
it turns out a couple of my friends were sitting courtside last night in the two seats right next to the end of the Lakers bench so that you could see him on TV a lot. And I was like, hey, is that Kendra Horn and Troy Stevenson? Kendra used to be the U.S. representative for the 5th District from 2018 to 2020.
Yeah.
And Troy Stevenson used to be the head of Freedom Oklahoma and then worked at the Trevor Project. So I texted Troy, like, hey, are y'all sitting courtside tonight? And he's like, we are. And then sent me a selfie that Kendra took of him, like, while they were sitting there. And you could see JJ Redick in the background. And I was like, all right, I thought that was y'all. And so then I texted Troy back. I was like, hey, wait, is JJ Redick as hot in person as he is on TV?
Asking the real questions, Brett. Asking the real
He
questions.
said yes, he is
Okay.
absolutely as hot in person. He also said the Lakers coaching staff was actually very nice. He
Mhm.
said they had one almost negative interaction where he was trying to take a picture of JJ Redick's shoes because he was
Mhm.
wearing like these like purple and gold colorway basketball shoes that looked really cool.
Oh, the
And
autism shoes.
yeah, and apparently one of the coaching staff thought he was trying to take a picture of their playboard as they were like drawing up a
Oh,
play, and he's like, he
no.
just quickly showed him, no, it's the shoes, and he's like, oh, okay, it's cool.
Many cameras in trying to, but I mean, whatever play they drew up just didn't work.
But
So
um
I do want it, but I do want to send, thoughts to Luca. I know he was having an MRI today, and hopefully it comes back not very severe.
yeah,
J-Dub was asked
JJ
about it because
Redick
he
said
was
after
guarding
the
Luca.
JJ Redick said after the game that Luca was cleared to come back, but then they still had the MRI scheduled for today. So that
No,
seems
he was cleared to
conflicting.
come back at the halftime.
Okay, okay,
Because see, they had been treating his hammy during the second quarter.
okay.
And so at halftime, they reviewed it and he was released to go back. And that's one of the things that JJ talked about, was why was Luca out there? There's a 30-point differential. Why have you got Luca out there? And they said that they had talked at halftime. He and LeBron and Luca had talked and said, let's come back after the half. You'll go in for six. See if there's a spark. Just see if we've made adjustments. If there's a spark, and at 6 minutes, we'll pull you out if there's not. And he went down right around 6 minutes. So that was why
Yeah.
he was out there. He wasn't trying to run up, pad stats or anything like that. He was literally trying to find a spark, and they had agreed that this is what they would do because he was cleared at halftime to go
Okay.
back out there.
And that makes sense. I mean, 30 points, while it's a lot, like with the 3-point shot, if you just get it back within 15 by the start of the fourth quarter,
Oh
you're
yeah.
not out of the game. Like it's
No.
certainly not a deficit I would say is completely insurmountable.
No. If you get a
Um,
spark and you get going on a run,
Maybe the
that's
Thunder come out not quite as intense the second half. You catch them napping a little bit. Suddenly
a
it's
little
a 15
complacent.
point game, and now you got a game on your hands.
Right.
So I understand why you would still give it a whirl.
Yeah.
You don't just throw in the towel at halftime.
I mean, you
Um,
could
Now I did
have.
see, as I was watching on TV, I noticed there was a little bit of a dust up. Austin Reeves was yelling at somebody while LeBron was down on the ground. And then this morning on Threads, I did see video from in the crowd. There was somebody in one of those front rows under the basket taunting Luca while he was injured on the ground. And
Yeah,
we just,
saying now you know
we,
what defense is.
yeah, we at the Thunder Gals, we know most Thunder fans would never do such a thing.
Mm-mm,
And we just want to reiterate that's not good fan behavior. We hope you all know that. If
mm-mm.
somebody's on the ground injured, that is not a time to taunt and trash talk. Um,
I was glad to see, Austin did talk back, and stood up for Luca, of course.
yeah,
But and nobody in all the Thunder people I follow anywhere, nobody was condoning what this fan had said. Now, and to me, and I'm just going to give the benefit, I don't know, but it didn't feel like a regular fan or a regular person who goes and watches the games in the arena. It sounded like somebody that was there potentially as a guest. I could be proven completely wrong because I'm pulling this out of the air, but it sounded like somebody that was there and got caught up in the momentum and caught up in the moment and just started mouthing, not realizing the severity potentially of what was going on. And but whatever the case is, I hope the Thunder, you know, take that into consideration when whether deciding whether or not that fan can return.
yeah. I hope we find maybe it's coming out now while we're recording, but
Probably it's
I
Friday.
I I would guess that there's some investigation ongoing, and it's likely that fan may get banned because
Mhm.
I've sat courtside. They hand out cards that tell you like if you
I mean, it's
behave in an
there.
unacceptable way for this arena, like you can absolutely lose your privilege to come to these games. So
Yeah.
they're not shy about it.
No, I mean there was the whole there's been so many things, the Russ situations and the attacks on the families and it's mouthiness that doesn't belong.
Yeah,
I mean, it serves
absolutely.
no purpose. What are you doing? Luca's on the floor. He's hurt.
Yeah.
What are
And
you
whatever you
gaining?
think about Luca, yes, he whines to the refs. There was absolutely a play in the second quarter where he took time off to argue with the ref while Shea ran down and got a layup because Luca didn't bother to run back on defense. Like he has a whininess that I can understand why you want to taunt him about it. But he's also a competitor. He is absolutely not just laying there on the ground faking an injury because they're losing. Like
No, that's
that
ridiculous.
that's not okay behavior. You don't yell at somebody who's on the ground in pain. That's never
No.
okay.
But one of the interesting things that I did realize last night, I mentioned it in the post game wrap, but so Shea last night was his 65th game.
Yeah.
So he has met the threshold for postseason awards. Yay! And so the rest is icing. So he's met the threshold. Now Luca, he this was his 64th game.
Yeah.
If for some reason the hammy causes him to miss the rest, he will be ineligible. But then that brings up the conversation, is the 65 level arbitrary? Well, he got suspended for a game last week because he had gotten his 16th technical of the season, even though the one before it they'd gotten it rescinded. But he got a
He went and
suspension, a
got
one
another
game
one after
suspension.
that.
Right. So he sat out, and that's why he was not on his 65th game.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not victim blaming, please. I'm not. Anything can happen in a game. I say it all the time. I've said it earlier in this show. But it's one of those things that you have to consider your actions throughout the season, how it will impact later in the season. We were winning 24 and 1 in the beginning. That happened to give us a cushion that now we're scrambling ahead of San Antonio because we had a cushion early in the season.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that, it would be a much tighter, it's tight now, but I mean, a much closer race.
Yeah.
So the things that you do roll and it impacts what's happening. So he could have played and had his 65th, and there would not have been a conversation. Well, is he eligible for awards and things like that? So, but
Yeah.
one of the,
I like the 65 game rule generally because I do think it has impacted playing time decisions.
yeah,
Like there were some times a couple years ago before this rule came into effect where load management had become such a thing that, guys like Jokic were only playing 60 games and like
hmm,
missing like a quarter of the season, but still being able to get MVP. And like, I can understand why they wanted to encourage, like, no, like, voters did already take into account sitting out too much. So, like, it wasn't
hmm,
like it didn't already get taken into account.
yeah.
But they wanted that extra oomph to be like, no, for real. Like you've got a number you've got to hit. Um, I think
Fred
I'm
Cat,
open to changing it to maybe around minutes because
yeah.
like Luca, I heard this morning, Luca's still in the top 50 players in minutes played on the season.
Hmm.
So like maybe you move to like some kind of minutes model. That way it, guys who play heavy minutes, if they do come up with an injury late in the season, they're not, disregarded because they had this whole body of work before. Um, I don't know.
So Fred Katz made a comment talking about carve outs for injuries. And Fred was a previous Thunder beat writer. I think
Yeah,
he's Knicks now.
he's Nick's
Um,
beat writer now.
and he said that there is an exception if they play 62 games and they have an injury that a third party or outside physician determines is too detrimental to return, and they play 84% of the games. Like, it's really odd numbers, but it was
But like they
84% of the
have
games.
to
So
be
Luca,
out for the season.
right. But talking about Luca,
Yeah.
if the hammy keeps him out for the rest of the season, he's met the 62 threshold. If the MRI and a doctor determines that he meets that threshold, the problem is he's only played in 83% of the games, 82 or 83%, just under that 84% threshold.
Well,
So the
and you have
carve
to, but
out,
you have to miss the playoffs too, I think, is another wrinkle to
I thought
that.
it was just season because it was for the postseason awards.
It's complicated, but yeah,
It is,
there's
but it was one of those things that there actually is a carve out, and Luca is still just missing the carve out.
yeah.
Depending on MRI results. I mean, it could be a strain and he's back, in 4 games. So we hope that he's well enough to do something like that. But
Yeah, it's
J-Dub, J-Dub was guarding him when he went down, and he was asked about it after the game, and he said it was really, really odd when Luca went down because he kind of cringed because that's what he had just come back from, his hamstring injury. And he was watching it, and when it happened, and he was just like cringing inside. He said he could have went for the loose ball, but he just let it go out so that the Lakers would have time to deal with this because he's like, I knew, when he went down, like I know what I went through, and
yeah, that's
so
really
it's just
unfortunate. It looks like that's probably going to take at least a couple weeks to really get him back to healthy and ready to go. If I'm the
well, and they
Lakers,
want to preserve
it's
him
more
for
it's
the
more
play.
important that he be healthy come playoff time.
Hmm.
I would hope they just shut him down for the remainder of the season, regardless of how it impacts his postseason awards, because unfortunately, it's just more important for them right now to win in the playoffs.
Right. And
Um,
a loss like what they had last night is not helpful to them in their standings.
no.
And then we play them again this coming week.
Well, and
So
as
I'm going to be very
somebody said
interested
that
to
that's
see.
a loud loss.
It was, it was, and people were like, it was so funny comparing pregame, the previews, not just yours, but I mean the announcers and everybody. Oh, this is going to be a game, and Luca and SGA, and third in the West and number one in the West, and all. And then halftime, it started getting really muted, and and then by the end, it was like, so here's the Detroit game. Let's talk about the Detroit game. And
It
so,
was wow. Yeah. Another thing from last night really stood out to me, and I posted this from our Thunder Gals account. J-Dub is back.
oh,
Like
absolutely 100%. There's
we
no.
saw like he was attacking the rim with ferocity. His running was clearly back to normal. His three-point shot was there. He didn't take as many of them, but he's making his shots again.
Mhm.
I only saw a couple shots of his that kind of fell really short early in the game, but once he got his rhythm going, like he was full J-Dub last night.
And it's so great to see. I
Um,
love seeing him come back. And that's why it didn't bother me the amount of time that he stayed out with the hammy. I would love because he even said that while he was out with his hammy, that was when he was working on his shot and he didn't feel his wrist at all anymore.
yeah,
Like, so silver linings.
yeah,
I mean, this is a great time to be ramping back up.
and he had already missed so many games early in the season that he didn't even have to even consider NBA awards and coming
No.
back too early. We had the luxury of just letting that, play out at pace to where he's coming back just for these last 10 games of the regular season, can
Hmm.
ramp back up, get back into game shape. And now we have a fully healthy squad, fingers crossed, knock on wood, as we approach the playoffs. Although we do still need to hear about Lou Dort. It looked like, if anything, it was more likely a contusion from the way he landed. Hopefully, he didn't break
That's what I
anything.
was thinking. And so, but until we hear anything, because nobody said MRIs, and I mean, they just said that he would be evaluated this morning.
Yeah, it
So, and they
didn't
haven't released.
sound like it would likely be anything massive, but you know,
He did walk off on his own, so that's a
so
good thing.
we'll see. He clearly was impactful last night. I know he's had some off games of late, and there's, been some chatter about, whether he even should be in the starting lineup or not among some fans, and I hear that. Like, even, you and I have even kind of privately had some chats about that, but This last week, he's had a couple games where he's really shown, when it comes to big moments and times you really need him to step up, he still can. And he was giving Luca fits. Kaysen was giving Luca fits. They really were just hammering him on defense. And what was it you said? He's had like 30 points total against the
Yeah,
Thunder in
I
three
think between
games.
yeah, it's like 31 points. That's what the Thunder have held Luka to in the three games that we've played so far. And so clearly the Thunder know how to account for Luka, which, going into the game Tuesday, like if Luka's not there, we already know how to adjust. So it'll be interesting. I
Yeah,
don't know. But it gave the opportunity. Even though I kind of disagreed with how long they kept Shea and J-Dub in the third, J-Dub still only had 23 minutes last night. Yeah, they're still
yeah.
monitoring his minutes.
They
But
didn't overplay them.
no, I know, but
I think it got to what I was talking about earlier. Like they knew the Lakers might try to just at least chip it down to like a 15-point lead and make it a game. So I think they were just out there to put their foot down and make sure like that didn't happen.
agree. I don't disagree with that. I just personally I'm yelling from the recliner going, "Get them out, Mark," because two guys went down because
Yeah,
anything can happen in the
we
game.
don't want those injuries. So that's
But
certainly
I do
true.
like seeing Mark's rotations. He comes up with some of the most creative rotations.
Yes, I mean, but how, Paula? He's got 13 guys in the rotation. How is he going to play all these guys come playoff time?
Well, let me see. He's probably going to rotate and go through all of them and do exactly what he did last year when we won the championship and keep everybody on their toes. Maybe? I don't know.
You
Spitballing
mean
here.
there's not like a rule that you have to reduce your rotation to 8 players for the playoffs?
I don't know. I mean, all of the announcers seem to think there is, and I don't know. I haven't seen that part in the rule book, but again, I'm not I may not be privy to that.
How are they allowed to play this many players?
It's like they actually have a limit to how many people can be on the roster. And that's why I say going into the playoffs, this all of these injuries, again, it's ridiculous how much the Thunder have missed and are still dominating in the West.
Yeah,
I mean, when have we not been number one?
it it's been the whole season. We've been
Right.
led the West start to finish. Now
And
we did drop behind Detroit for like best record in the league for a couple weeks there, but reality caught back up to them and injuries caught back up to them and they've now fallen off of that pace and now they're third in the NBA behind the Spurs even. So, and give it up to the Spurs. They have played an
first,
amazing
yeah.
second half of this season.
They
They've
absolutely have. There is nothing that I can say about the Spurs. Like I'm not going to disparage them. They really have played phenomenally this season.
You know,
And I
I
think,
think they owe the Thunder a little bit because if it weren't for the Thunder proving that a young team could compete and win and even win some playoff series, I don't know if the national media would be considering them an actual legitimate contender. I think
well, I
you'd
mean,
hear more talk about them needing to prove it in the playoffs than I've
yeah.
actually heard sent.
But I mean, they've got a player advocating for himself and his abilities. So, they want to reward or acknowledge that. And I'm not diminished. I mean, if I had a 7'6", 37-foot wingspan player, I too would be keeping him busy. But I don't
Yeah,
know and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I don't believe that makes him MVP of the season, though. And the
Well,
straw poll that came out today seems to agree with me.
yes. So Tim Bontemps from ESPN, he does this every year, and he's been doing it for 7 or 8 years now. So we actually
Hmm.
got quite a bit of data. He polls 100 of the people who have MVP votes, so the
Yep.
actual voters, not just anybody, but the people who are actually going to be voting on the award. And he
Hmm.
does one early in the season, and then he does one towards the end. Those numbers have come out, and out of the 100 people who voted, Shea got 88 first place votes. Wimby
Hmm.
got 8 first place votes. So, while the
I
fans may think there's a closer MVP race here, certainly you'd think that Wimby is the MVP based on the noise on NBA threads. The people who have votes are very clearly know SGA is the MVP this year.
Now I would really, really like to just talk to the three people that put Shay third.
Right? I
Like
don't
I
e-
get the
I
conversation.
I can see arguments for putting him second.
No,
Like
I have no problem with that. That's
I think between Shea, Luca, Jokic, and Wemby, we've had 4 players this year who have had truly historic, amazing seasons that in any other year they might be the only guy in the conversation.
right.
But they're all 4 doing this together at the same time.
Right. And
But
it's
I
been
think
impressive. We
what
will look back and say this was a great MVP race.
I think what sets Shea apart is A, he does play defense. So Wemby's argument of, well, defense is 50% of the game. Well, yeah, it is. And Shea is an MVP who does play really solid defense. He gets, I think, 2.5 or 3 stocks per game. That's steals plus blocks. Shit, he had a big block on Wimby in one of those Spurs games. Like
Yeah.
Shea got up there and blocked a Wimbenyama shot. So, um,
Without a ladder.
so we're talking about a guy who does play both sides of the floor. Sure, he's not the defender that Kaysen or Lou Dort are, and you wouldn't want to put him in that role because he'd wear himself out and not be able to be 11 of 11 in the clutch in the last 2 weeks. So, you're doing what you got to do to manage him, but he's having, if you go look at true shooting percentage, the top 10 and true shooting, it's a stat that combines your shooting from the field, from 3 point, and at the free throw line all into one statistic.
Hmm.
In the top 10, it's all centers except for Shea. And that's because centers take most of their shots right at the rim. So,
Hmm.
of course, their shooting percentage tends to be really high because they're getting a lot of dunks and layups because they
Yeah.
play right at the rim. Shea is the only guard in this sea of centers in the top 10 in true shooting percentage. He's doing things for a guard that are truly unbelievable and have only been seen a couple times before in league history, like Steph Curry's 2016 year where they went 73 and 9. He had a true shooting percentage around where Shea's is now. Like that's the level we're talking about here. And the voters get it. They see it. They're like, "No, that guy, he's clutch. He wins games. He shoots more efficiently than any offensive player we've seen in years. Like he is truly an MVP."
I mean, I'm not going to argue. But I do learn so much from you when you bring me these facts and statistics and things that, because I watch the box score and vibe with it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, look, but it's interesting to see all of the calculations and everything that go into it, besides just Well, he hit 11 free throws tonight.
Yeah.
You know, how that impacts everything else. But I don't know. It's interesting to see. And, we're getting close to the end of the year. And, even Shea, he's like, somebody asked him if if he wants to campaign for the MVP himself, make his case. And he was like, no, I'm good. Thanks for asking, though.
I think he
I'll
said,
let
I'll
my
let my
game do
game
my
do the
talking.
talking.
Yep,
Which I appreciate.
exactly.
I don't begrudge Wimby trying to advocate for himself.
Nope,
Um,
I don't.
you know, I do think that would be treated differently if any other player were doing it though. I like if Luca got up and advocated for himself, I think the same fans who think Wimby's great for doing it would be saying, "Oh, that's so cringe. Why would you do that?"
Hmm.
So I think there is a little bit of a weird, like Wimby gets treated a little differently than some others, but he's also younger than those other guys, so maybe you give him a little
Hmm.
more leeway because he's doing things in his second year that like you that make him think like that he's some veteran.
Seriously, and I just, he's just going to continue to grow. His skill set's just going to continue. If he can start knocking down, what was it, 26 on average, like that's going to be like phenomenal. So, it'll be interesting to see how he continues to improve his game.
And there's no doubt,
But
defensively, he changes all the angles on the court. It blows up all of your offensive angles because
mhm,
with that height and wingspan and the way he can cover a whole half of the floor almost by himself, like it truly does impact your entire offensive game. So
mhm. And it'll be interesting to see how the brackets roll. Um, of who goes against who in the playoffs because I know we're still battling one and two, and the numbers are so close, and we have so few games. So it'll be interesting to see where we fall. So
even more
I don't
interesting will
know.
be where the seeding falls for Denver. So
Yeah.
so
Well, see,
does
on Saturday the Spurs and Denver play. So I'm excited to see that game. Like I'll actually be sat and I'll watch that one because
yeah,
it impacts us.
it does. And there's a chance that if the seeding works out right, where if Denver ends up in the 3-6 first round matchup as a 6 seed, they would then play potentially San Antonio in the second round. So you could see
Darn.
San Antonio have to take on Denver and keep the Thunder from having to get through both Denver and San Antonio.
Let
So
me go ahead and cross those fingers and make all kinds of wishful signs and knocking on wood. And
we'll be
I mean,
watching
we'll
that
play whoever.
closely, and we'll know a lot more by this time next week. I
Yeah,
think that picture will be getting a lot more clear.
yeah.
So, um, before we get out of here, the Thunder were active in the community. They're on a homestand. The other day, Shay and Kenrich were at a Love's, handing out some gift cards and some snacks and stuff.
Hmm.
And you had something else that
I
Isaiah
Hart.
Hartenstein.
Yeah. So, and that's the good thing. They get out. And of course, I know we've talked about I Hart being so, you know, active in the community. Well, he showed up out at Star Spencer High School's practice, complete surprise to them. Came out, gave them some, motivating speech and stuff, and brought them some shoes and decked out the whole team. And it's just one of those things that when they have the opportunity to be in town, that they get to, um, they get to show that they are active, that they do care, that they're not just players on a court, because
Yeah,
they recognize the fans are the reason they get to do what they do. And
yeah,
and it's the Thunder Cares program, but these are from individual, this is Hartenstein's foundation. And it's just great to watch and see how they are bringing the fans in.
I've been blown away at how much Isaiah Hartenstein has been involved in the community. Like, because, we signed him as a free agent out of New York, and,
Mhm.
his wife is like a model. And so, like, there
Boots
was a
on the
lot of
ground from
reason why
day
he
one.
might have stayed in New York for her career and stuff, but he really has adopted Oklahoma City and really made a name for himself here at home in the community, and that's just great to see.
Love to see it. I don't know. I just, it's reciprocal. So,
So we got a good week ahead. We've got the Jazz on Sunday. I could definitely see sitting some guys that game against a tanking Jazz team. So we'll see how the minutes are divvied up as we're coming down the stretch here. Thunder unfortunately can't just cruise because, like we said, they do need to hold on to that number one seed. So if they go 4-1 in these final five, then they clinch number one, regardless of what San Antonio does.
mhm.
If we go 3-2 and San Antonio wins out, then we're tied for first. San Antonio has the tiebreaker. They would be the one seed. So really, really important games to still go out and get those W's.
Get those W's. 5-0. I'm 5-0. I'm always going to be optimistic with that.
I'll take 4-1. I'm gonna predict 65-17 as our final record. I'll take that. That would be two straight seasons of 65 wins or more. That would be another history making kind of deal, another feather in Shay's cap. So
Yeah.
let's go for at least that. And 66-16 is still on the table.
Love it.
All right, y'all. It's been great being with you again. We'll be back next week. Subscribe on YouTube, on your favorite podcast app. Give us all the ratings, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. 5-star ratings. We love you. We love the community we're building here. And come interact with us. We're fun. We try to be nice, and we'll have a good time talking basketball with y'all.
Absolutely.
All right. Peace. Thunder up, y'all.
Bye, guys.